You're locked into the only podcast for Maine high school basketball. The biggest names, past and present. It's Big Time Hoops, the podcast, right now.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Big Time Hoops, the podcast. We got a big timer. Miss Basketball, a two-time Gatorade State Player of the Year, four-time state champion. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. But the second Clement to come on Big Time Hoops, the podcast. We got the big sister. We got Allie joining us tonight. Allie, thank you for joining us tonight. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So I was thinking about it here, and you're a couple years removed from your playing days now. Like, normally this would be the time you're going back to school, obviously some workouts, stuff like that. Like, what's it like for you? Like, you're a couple years removed now, so like it's got to be weird because you probably, as far back as you can remember, probably always been basketball this time of year, but like now it's like just being an adult, right?
It's so strange. We used to always, in our family, we played basketball year round, like you said, and then August was sort of our year or our month of the year where we got to kind of relax and, no camps. We just were going to stay at home and, kind of rest our bodies a little bit. And so September was really the month that we picked things back up. And it's very strange not having, practice to go to every night. But I have work to look forward to every day. So things are a little bit different, but definitely still have a schedule.
Yeah. You miss it at all? Or did it kind of just run its course? Okay, I'm ready to move on now.
I definitely enjoy when I play now, which is very rarely, but I don't think about it as often as I thought I would. I thought when basketball ended, I would be like, oh my gosh, I don't have practice. What am I going to do? But I find like I've really developed interest in other things that I like to do, and life continues. So definitely a good experience and lots of fun, but I don't think about it as much as I thought I would.
Yeah, I would think. And we're going to talk about your journey, and like you played a lot of basketball. And I'm guessing like for we'll talk about like just how big of a commitment it is. I would think once you get to the end of it, you're kind of like, yeah, I'm kind of ready for something different now, right?
I was definitely ready.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about what you're doing now. So just doing the work life thing.
Yep.
We'll go back. We'll get back to work later on because
not as exciting.
Yeah, it's always exciting to talk about work. But as I kind of mentioned at the top, one of the best basketball resumes that I have read. Like I was just reading some stuff online just to kind of refresh. You did it all. But where did it start? Because there's three Clement sisters. You're the oldest. Yep. So let's go back to the beginning. What's the whole basketball origin in the family about?
Yeah. So my mom was offered scholarships in all three sports that she played: field hockey, track, and basketball. And my dad played basketball in high school, then for a couple of years at Colby. And I don't really know how he sort of picked basketball for us to get into. I mean, obviously it was a combination of we were interested in it and he obviously wanted to teach us how to play. But I think part of it was because my aunt was the coach at Maine at the time. And so they were always bringing me to games and I was little. And I think my dad just saw the opportunity. And so, I mean, I can remember when I was a few years old, we were dribbling in the basement of our first house. And that's sort of my earliest basketball memory. And we have some home videos playing with my aunt in the driveway with my cousins and my sister, just when we were really young. So it's interesting because I don't really know. It was never really like, oh, I feel like I have to play basketball, but it also didn't really seem like there were a lot of other options. Like we just kind of knew basketball and loved basketball and kept developing, and it just became a bigger and bigger part of our lives. So that's sort of how it began. Our dad has always been our coach, really. So we started playing youth basketball, and he was our coach for that. He and Sarah would always play up on my team, which was really fun. So he probably started coaching me in like second or third grade. So she would be in kindergarten or first grade, and she would be, we were already tiny, but she was like half our height and so small. And it was just so funny watching back the videos. Like, she was just trying to keep up, and, it was really fun to be able to do that with her. And with Camille, obviously, as we got older, but she at that time was in diapers. So
So one thing you mentioned was your aunt being the coach of UMaine, and she was coaching at a time when UMaine hoops was just huge, right? She coached obviously some great players, some great teams and stuff like that. Like, what do you remember about being around the program, going to games and stuff like that? I'm guessing you got to like interact with players and get like the backstage treatment.
Yeah, so I don't remember much about her being at Maine, but I remember her being at Michigan State, which was where she went after she was at Maine, and I was probably 8 or 9 at the time. And we were actually talking about this recently because her kids came to visit, but I'll never forget when it was 2003, I believe. 2008. Her Michigan State team went to the Final Four in Indianapolis, and they beat Tennessee after being down 16 with 8 minutes to go. And Sarah and I just remember being in the stands, like sobbing hysterically. Like it was the greatest thing that had ever happened. We went to a pep rally with the team after, and we looked up to them like they were celebrities. So it was really fun being able to have that interaction and like look up to those girls and also sort of see what they experienced at the collegiate level. So that was so much fun. That was the first time I really remember getting to interact with the players and things like that. And then when she was at Duke, we got older, obviously. And so we would start going to summer camp there, and we'd go to games when we could. Obviously, it conflicted with basketball a lot, but we'd always go down to the BC game when she was there, and we totally idolized the players. We watched the games all the time and thought it was the coolest thing that like our aunt knew these girls that were so talented and played in the ACC and just had so much fun watching them, especially in high school. It was really, really cool.
Growing up, like, were you a fan of the college game? Like, did you like women's college basketball?
Yeah, I feel like
it would have been, I was going to say, because if you did, like, at the time, it would have been like UConn or a Tennessee fan.
Right.
Your aunt's playing Tennessee and beating Tennessee. I'm just curious, like, if you liked one of those teams and then just kind of jumped to the Michigan State bandwagon or what?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, women's college basketball was kind of all we knew growing up. I mean, obviously with it being in our family, our parents took such an interest, and we always kind of just loved where she was, because we wanted to support her. I wouldn't say that there was any particular school we were fans of before she got into college coaching, that it felt like a rivalry. We had to cheer for her against the team that we liked. So yeah, I mean, we definitely, I guess we were bandwagon fans. You have to say that. There's no other way to put it, really. We were just supporting her wherever she went.
Being loyal. You're just being loyal. Nothing wrong.
Yeah, got to be loyal. So.
Did you get all kinds of free gear growing up? Just all kinds of nice stuff?
Yeah. So I don't really remember, again, the Michigan State stuff, but when she got to Duke, I was in middle school, and I sort of was fully understanding, like, my aunt was coaching at Duke. Duke is an awesome school. Yeah. I want gear. I want to rep Duke, and like make sure everybody knows that that's my aunt, because this is so cool. And so we started getting a lot of free stuff from her, because honestly, it was just like her stuff that she had way too much of. And so sometimes my cousins would have extra stuff, and that was a great perk.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have right there. Not bad at all.
Totally. And I didn't realize how much gear people got on college basketball teams until I got to college and was like, I could do this too. I could give away so much and I would never even know. Like, we got so much gear, which was awesome. Such a good problem to have. But
it's a great problem to have.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I didn't wear anything else.
So another program that's close to the family is the Firecracker program, which you talked about a little bit, and that's your dad's thing. So is that kind of something that started with you? Like, was it just one of those things like, okay, my daughter's starting AAU, let me just start a program and kind of do things the way I see fit, or was that around before you?
No. So my team was the first Firecracker team in 5th grade. My dad and Dawn Briggs, who I'm not even really entirely sure how they connected and decided they wanted to sort of start something together, and how they, had the same mentality and mindset about all that would go into it. But in 5th grade, I played with the Scarborough 6th graders. I think that was 4th grade, and I played with the 5th graders. And then in 5th grade, my dad and Dawn Briggs combined some girls from Falmouth and Scarborough, and we were called the Falborough Firecrackers. And so that was sort of like the first taste of Firecrackers. And over time, people left and other people joined, and we sort of developed over the years. But that was the first Firecracker team. And then we had one for a year younger. So if I was in 6th grade, we started a 5th grade team, and my dad was the head coach of that team, and Sarah played up a year. So definitely we were the first team, which was so fun. I mean, it was totally challenging and really hard. And we had to be very disciplined to compete with so many teams that we did, but it was such a good experience. I'm so grateful that they decided to put that program together, and it's really cool to see how far the program has come.
I was going to say, so right.
I can't even count how many they have now.
Yeah, I was going to say right now it's probably the premier program in the state. You just like all the players that kind of gone through there. Like, was it the case from the beginning? Like, you guys just stacked right from the jump? Or did it take time to kind of build that up?
Totally had to build it up. There were so many other AAU programs around at the time, but there was not really one that was like dominant. You know, there was Maine Hoops, MB Nation. I can't even remember who else, but there were like classic programs where kids just kind of shuffled through and changed teams and stuff. And we had a core group that we kept for most of the time that we were there. It was really up to the girls. Like if someone didn't want to play basketball anymore, they'd go another direction, but there was never like, you're not good enough for this team type thing. We all just kept progressing, and it's crazy how far to see how far the program has come. We definitely had to fight our way to the top. There were a lot of times that we were playing older AAU teams in Maine because we'd play the people our age, and there wasn't a ton of competition. So we play up against the high schoolers when we were in 7th grade. And at first they definitely walked in the gym like, why are we playing this 7th grade team? Like this is going to be bad. But it was so fun, such a good experience. And then we started going to more tournaments like out of state and throughout New England and stuff, and started to prove ourselves more and more. And it's so cool because my dad will tell me about him being at tournaments, and there's just so many coaches asking about the Firecrackers are already at their games. Whereas like when we were first starting to play at tournaments out of state, no one was at our games. Right. No coaches were there. They didn't know anything about us. We were wearing these orange jerseys and like just a bunch of hicks from Maine, they thought. And so once we started proving ourselves and beating some pretty good teams, people started coming, and then coaches saw other coaches were watching our games, and we caught some attention of some people, which was really cool. It's just really, really cool to see how far they've come and how many people have appreciated and understood the rep that the Firecrackers have been, have earned.
Yeah. So now your playing days are done. Are you going to take over the program? Are you going to keep it going, or are you going to?
I know. I've kind of thought about maybe coaching a team eventually. I don't think I'm there yet, but maybe when I move back home, and it's definitely something that interests me. I don't think I want to be a college coach or anything like that. So I think it'd be really cool to get back involved with the Firecrackers. Yeah. It's been such a great program. I mean, I'm so thrilled for anyone that joins, and it really does feel like a big family. Although it's starting to be weird that nobody knows who I am and I don't know who anybody is. It's so strange. It used to be like you knew everyone that was in the gym. You kind of all practiced with all the teams, and it was great. But
a good role you could be right now. You could be like a brand ambassador, just like
that would be cool.
There you go. Get on the payroll for that as a brand.
Seriously, I know. Yeah, I mean that would not suck.
And then by the time you got to high school, you also had a choice to make where you wanted to go to school, and there was a program out there that was kind of head and shoulders above the rest as well, kind of like where the Firecrackers got. What came down to the decision making to decide where you wanted to go to school, and was it even like a tough decision? It
wasn't really a tough decision. My sister, Sarah, would say that it was a tough decision. She really didn't have a lot of choice in the matter, whereas I did.
Yeah.
But I think my parents just saw how much I loved it and wanted to make sure she experienced the same thing. I was just sort of ready for a change. I didn't feel like I found my group of people in middle school, and I just like knew Macaulay was good at basketball. I thought it was awesome that they were all girls. When I shadowed, I was so impressed with how nice and fun the girls were. So I just sort of accepted that I was ready for the change, embraced it, and a couple girls from my class in Falmouth were going as well. So I knew a few girls that were going there. So that really helped. And then it turned out to be such an incredible experience. I'm so sad that it ended and that other people aren't able to experience it, but oh my gosh, high school was so much fun.
So we had a fellow Miss Basketball on. We had Anna DeWolf on, and asked her when she was growing up, like, was there someone she looked up to and was a fangirl of, and she said you. And she said she wanted to mirror your career because of things you did. was anyone you like growing up? Was anyone that you kind of saw was like, I want to do what she's doing. I want to be like her. Was it someone specific at Macaulay, or was it just maybe someone else at another school, or what?
So Sarah Marshall, who went to Macaulay when they won their first championship in 2003, was my babysitter growing up.
Oh.
And so she ended up going to play at BC, and she gave me and my sister her practice jersey. And we just thought she was so cool. Like, she came from Maine. She's playing in the ACC. She went to Macaulay. They won state championships. So I'd say she was sort of my first role model. And then as I started getting like watching my aunt at Michigan State and stuff, she had this player named Kristen Haney who like just could not be stopped. And so she's the reason I chose number 4, actually. My cousin and I totally idolized her. We dressed up as her for Halloween. We thought she was the coolest thing. And so she was fun to watch. And then I would honestly say, like, a lot of the players at Duke really just like kind of inspired me to keep going. But my first role model was definitely Sarah Marshall. And it was sort of cool that I was almost trying to recreate her path in terms of going to Macaulay and then playing college basketball.
So Macaulay was an established program by the time you got there. They already had winning ways and great players that had come through. So what was it like coming into that program? I'm guessing there's just a certain culture already in place when you got there. What was that culture like?
It was awesome. So they hadn't won in a little while. So like, yes, they were doing well, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh, Macaulay's won 10 state championships in the last 10 years. I have to go there to play basketball. I just knew a combination of like athletically and academically, it would be really good. But so when I first got there, the coach that was there the year before, I can't remember if he got fired or stepped down or whatever, but there was a coaching change. And so I had talked to him a little bit and felt comfortable playing for him and was excited about that. And then Amy Vachon ended up getting the head coaching job at Macaulay. So that was really cool because she played for my aunt at Maine. And my aunt always had said, like, she was one of the hardest working, best players that I've ever coached, spoke really highly about her. And so that was a really interesting experience. You know, she only stayed for a year, but it was awesome. And I played with some incredible players, Rebecca Knight, Alexa Coulomb, Sadie DePiro, and just had so much fun and sort of didn't have a ton of expectations going into it. I kind of just wanted to like go and play and prove myself. And it was awesome. I mean, so fun.
And the results were good. Obviously, you won a state championship your freshman year.
Yeah.
That happened. That would happen again and again and again. But what was it like just coming in? You mentioned not really having any pressure on you because of the great players that were there in front of you. Was it just one of those things you were able to kind of come in, just find your own role, just kind of go at your own pace and not have any pressure on you? And it just made it kind of like a seamless transition for you?
Yeah, definitely just sort of picked up on the energy of the other girls that had been there, and they were obviously really hungry to do well and win and knew they were capable of it. So I just wanted to contribute however I could, and it ended up working out really well. I didn't end up starting at first, so that was sort of my first challenge. Like, okay, I need to prove myself to my coach and my teammates that I'm reliable and I can do this. So that was good, you know, sort of putting me in my place and understanding like, this is going to not be the easiest thing you ever do. And, you know, you got to earn your role. And it was such a good experience and so much fun. It feels like forever ago, which is so weird.
Yeah. What's it like also just having great players to go against in practice every day? You mentioned the upperclassmen that were there when you arrived. Like just having that to kind of battle against every day.
It was awesome. I mean, just the work ethic that they had was so contagious. They wanted to do well. They had high goals that I wanted to emulate. You know, it was just really great playing against people who were talented and had similar mindset as I did. We also had Dawn Ross, who I think she's done coaching at Falmouth, but coached at Falmouth for a little bit, and she played at USM, and she would always guard me in practice, and she was a really good defender. And I'd get so frustrated because sometimes she'd swipe the ball from me. I'm like, oh my gosh, give me a break. Like, just let me move, whatever. Like, I don't want to be playing against really tough competition in practice, but obviously it really helped and was beneficial in the long run, and really just sort of set the standard for how it was going to be at Macaulay. I'm really grateful for all the different teammates and groups of people I experienced that pushed me along the way.
Yeah. Do you guys have any roadblocks that first year, or was it just like a easy sit on the entire way, all the way through?
Like, to be honest, I don't fully remember. I I don't think we lost that year though.
Yeah, because I saw a crazy stat. I was doing some research here. Your career record 85-3, so only 3 losses over the course of 4 years. So I'm guessing you guys weren't really challenged that often.
We had some really good battles with Deering and Chevrolet. Like we called the games against Chevrolet the Holy War. You had to get into the gym basically at 4:00 in the afternoon for the 7:00 game, or there wasn't a seat for you. People were like sitting on the floor around the gym. We have some really cool pictures and just such good memories. Like there was so much excitement around those games and those times. And we beat Deering in overtime in the state tournament. And then we had some close battles with them where, I think I hit a buzzer shot to go into overtime in a regulation game. It seems probably like it was smooth sailing, but it definitely didn't seem like that at the time. We had our challenges and that was good. I honestly can't remember what years we lost, but whenever we did, it was such a good like reality check to just make sure we're not taking games lightly and keep us motivated.
You mentioned just the great crowds that would show up for the big games and stuff like that. And one of the cool things about being in Portland is, the tournament up here in Bangor, you get all these different towns that come to Bangor to play. But when you have the tournament in Portland, you got Portland teams that are right there with big fan bases. So what's it like come tournament time when it's a bigger venue, but you got just the entire city there just checking out these games? Like, what were those games like?
It was awesome. But we were blessed at Macaulay to basically have a packed gym every single game. The gym was pretty small and the bleachers were pretty small. So it was really cool because there was actually not really any seats for the game. It was always packed. We had such a large fan base. So it was a little bit weird going to the arena, and it definitely, you could tell there were more people there because more of the community came, but because it was so much bigger, it just felt different. It made it more, I don't know what the right word is, but it definitely made it seem like this is different than a normal game. Like this is the state tournament. There are many more people here, although it feels a little bit more open. It felt like we were on a stage. Which was really a great experience, and definitely helps prepare you for college where more venues are like that. So it was really cool to play there and be able to play in Portland, and Augusta was cool too. And it was just cool to see how many people made the trip up there for our games that's not that close. So it was really, really cool.
Yeah, so it seemed like fan support was never a problem for you guys. I've had some other girls on, and they say that's one of the things that they wish was different. Was they wish that they had more turnout for their games. They wish there was more support for some of the even like the great programs in the state that have a hard time drawing crowds. But it seems like you didn't have that problem at all for you guys, and it just seemed at the time
we
like
didn't. We were so blessed. So blessed. All the students would stay after school and come to the games, and we had so many. There were a bunch of nuns sitting in the stands. It was so funny. My great grandmother would sit with them, and all of our families. And maybe it's just because the gym was small, it felt like it was so full. But we definitely did not lack in fan support. And that's part of the reason I chose Marist, was because of how much support they had, and that I wanted to replicate what it was like at Macaulay to play in front of a big crowd and sort of be like the hot sport on campus.
I'm going to go off basketball topic for a moment. So you mentioned obviously going to Macaulay, all-girls school. What's it like going to an all-girls school? Is there more drama than normal? Is there less
drama? You would totally think that.
To be there to cause problems? Or what's
you would totally think that, but it was the most drama-free ever. Oh. There were 32 people in my class, and I honestly could say that I was friends with all of them. You could literally walk in the door and leave your laptop, and no one would touch it the whole day. Like, randomly in the middle of the day, we'd get an announcement on the intercom, like dance party in the gym, and we'd like just go have a good time. Like, it was just so much fun. There was not much drama at all. Just really good people. And it was just such an enjoyable experience. I really just wish more people had been able to be a part of it. I wish Camille could have experienced it in the way that it was when I went through high school, but it was awesome. And you really would think there was a lot more drama, but to be honest, it was pretty minimal.
So no drama in school, no drama on the basketball court for the most part. So
yeah,
I mentioned you're a rare 2-time Gatorade State Player of the Year in the state of Maine. So that would have been your junior and senior year. So when did things start to change in terms of you becoming more of a focal point? You mentioned kind of like just your freshman year, just trying to get a role, basically just be in the rotation and stuff like that. when did things start to shift for you where you started getting more of a, focal point in the offense, things start clicking for you? When was that? Was it just sophomore year or junior year?
I would say mostly sophomore year, it started shifting a little bit. Alexa and Sadie and some other awesome players were still on the team, but Alexa was a post player and we kind of didn't have a point guard at the time. So I really tried to step into that position. I would say by the end of freshman year, I'd made a significant impact, but wanted to sort of like put the team on my back. And I would say that didn't happen until later in my career. I was really fortunate to have my dad be my coach, and he in 8th grade sort of said, like, do you want to go for this? I'm going to push you really hard if this is something you want to do, if you want to play in college. It's not always going to be fun, and you're probably not going to be able to do all the social things your friends do, but if you want to go for your goal, I'm willing to help you do that. And I said, yep, I want to do it. I love this. I'm motivated. I'm hungry. And sometimes it wasn't fun. Sometimes he'd be like, Allie, let's go shoot. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to. I want to just like sit on the couch and watch TV, whatever. So sometimes it was grueling, but if I hadn't had him pushing me the whole way through, I probably wouldn't have even made a significant impact in high school, let alone gotten to play college basketball. So I would say because of that, and obviously the great players around me and stuff, I would say probably sophomore year, I started making more of an impact. And then junior and senior year, I was able to be captain and sort of felt like it was like I was the head of the team and in not just like on the basketball court, but I just enjoy being a leader and sort of like being in charge and, getting everybody motivated and on the same page. But yeah.
You mentioned motivation, which is where I was going next, actually. It's a perfect segue. So you mentioned Alexa. She gets Miss Basketball your sophomore year, so she leaves. You guys have won 2 state championships in a row. Like, how'd you stay motivated? Because obviously you still have 2 more years to go. You want to keep winning, and your role gets bigger. You become more important. Like, how do you stay motivated? Like, what were you just that driven, or was there other things, other factors that kind of pushed you along to do great things?
I was definitely driven, and I think honestly, I felt a little bit of pressure with that really great class of seniors leaving. Like, okay, they're not here anymore, so we need to figure it out, and we need to, work extra hard because it's not going to be as easy. And then knowing my sister was coming in as a freshman, like that was really exciting, and I wanted her to be able to experience winning a state championship. And we'd been playing together, obviously, all growing up, so it was really fun and exciting to be back on the same team and not have her be in the stands. So I would say every year just felt really different. It wasn't like ever assumed or a lack of hungriness at all. It just felt like a whole new year, a new season. We were so anxious and hungry for basketball to come back that we were totally motivated and wanted to repeat what we had done and give the other people who weren't on the team at the time the same experience, because it really was so special. And especially doing it at Macaulay, which we all were, just bleeding lion pride. We were just wanted to emulate and have the same sort of successful results.
So there's a bunch of talented players that were in the state at that time. And I'm guessing probably by the time you were in high school, some of those people were probably your firecracker teammates. And I know, like, when I talked to your sister and I talked to some other ones who were part of the firecracker program, and they used to love going at them during the regular season and getting a chance to actually play against each other. Yeah. Are there any players from that time that you liked matching up against that you look forward to in the schedule? Like, man, I can't wait to play these guys or play this person.
There were so many girls. So it was funny because Olivia Smith, who was on my firecracker team growing up, she didn't come to Macaulay her freshman year, but ended up transferring to Macaulay. So it was really fun to play with her because then we weren't playing against each other. Yeah. But Brienne Maloney, Ashley Briggs, Alicia Starbird, Sam Frost, played against all of them. And it was so weird, but so fun, a good experience. We all sort of played different roles. So it wasn't like we were necessarily like competing for the same spot or anything on firecracker. So we had so much like respect for one another. But it definitely was competitive when we played one another. You at the end of the game, you felt like you were teammates, but during the game there was definitely, a little extra edge and wanting to beat them and, stay on top. But it was so fun to be able to see them during the seasons and like carry their own teams, and sort of lead their own programs to success and keeping that motivation for their other teammates.
So you win a 3rd straight state championship your junior year, and I'm wondering, does that have like did it feel any different than the other ones? Because this is probably your first time like being the girl, like being the one. that's kind of carrying this team? Like, did that one mean anything different to you, or did it have any different special meaning? Because
I would say that one did feel a little bit different. Like you said, me and my friend Molly Mack were the two captains that year, and it sort of did feel like more like it was our team. I didn't feel like a rookie anymore. I felt like I understood and sort of knew what came with the territory and what we needed to prove. And then again, having my sister be on the team in winning states with her was really, really cool. Yeah, I mean, that one was definitely special for those reasons. They obviously all were in their own way, but that one was probably like, okay, I actually really had a big part in this, and felt really, really rewarding. Just so many girls that deserve to see that sort of success.
Absolutely. And then, as I mentioned, also got Gatorade Player of the Year that year as a junior, which it happens, but it's not too common. What was that like? I mean, that must have had to like open your eyes a little bit. Like, wow, like maybe I am pretty good. Maybe like I can go play somewhere and play D1 basketball. Like, was it kind of like an eye opener for you, or was that something that you just felt like you put in the work and you weren't?
No, I was totally shocked. I'd never heard of someone winning their junior year, and like you said, it does happen. But I just think I felt like there was a really great class of seniors above me too. So I wasn't going to be heartbroken if I didn't get it, but obviously was super hungry and motivated and wanted to like prove myself in any way that I could. And we had a pep rally at school or some sort of meeting, I remember, and I didn't know what was going on, but I saw my dad in the back of the auditorium and was like, that's weird. Why is my dad here? And they announced that I won that morning in front of the whole school. And I was so pumped, but also like so embarrassed to be getting it in front of my whole school and like, oh my God, I hate the attention on me. But it was really cool and really just a special experience. Like I said, I wasn't really expecting to win. Obviously any accolade is really exciting, but, I thought there were also other deserving players. So it was really, really cool to be recognized and
absolutely
pretty special.
And then also coming into senior year, you have an important decision to make. You know, do you want to do you commit and get that out of the way, or do you want to have that kind of hanging over you during your senior year? So when did schools start looking at you, and when did you actually start to narrow it down? And was it something that you wanted to make a decision before heading into senior year, or was it something you wanted to take your time and make the right decision? What was the thought process?
So I think because I was the oldest, my dad really wanted to make sure that he kind of got through the college process the right way, especially knowing that I was probably going to play sports.
Yep.
So basically all AAU tournaments we ever went to out of state, he made sure that we would go see all the schools that were around, whether that was meeting with the coaches or not. He wanted me to see as many schools as possible just to make sure that I would know what I liked in a school when I found the one that I wanted to go to and what I didn't like, and sort of help me narrow down my decision in the future. So we did a lot of that. And I felt like I was exhausted by it all at the end of sophomore year. And that was sort of like the time where things were really picking up in terms of recruiting. You know, a lot of letters, a lot of phone calls, all that stuff. And then I started taking visits to the schools that I really liked and schools that offered me scholarships and were talking to me and things like that. And I went to visit Marist, which it's funny how the whole Marist thing unfolded, because I actually went to Duke at the end of my freshman year after we won states. My parents said, if you win the state championship, you and Becca Knight, who was my best friend at the time, can go down and stay with Aunt Joanne and watch the first round of the NCAA tournament. And so we went and we sat behind Duke's bench. I can't remember who they played in the first round. And then the game after the Duke game was Marist versus somebody else, and I can't remember. But Duke and Marist both won, and then they played each other in the next round. And I was sitting behind the Marist bench, and I was like, wow, this program seems really good. They're competing with Duke. They actually almost won the game. My aunt was really nervous and stressed about it. Like, clearly she thinks highly of this program. And so, like, after that, I didn't really think anything of it. And then I started getting letters from them and was like, wait, that's the school that I saw at Duke. I'd never even heard of them before. Yeah. And so I went to visit, I think, my sophomore year and went to a game, and I was pretty sold on the school, just the fans, the atmosphere, the team, the coaches, kind of all of the things that come along with it. And so when we were going through my college process throughout my high school years, I felt like at the beginning of my junior year, I was totally ready to make my decision. So I actually committed in the fall of my junior year, which was really, really nice to know where I was going and not sort of have to worry about that stuff. And I felt relieved. I felt excited. I felt like it was the right choice. So it sort of took the pressure off the end of my junior and senior year, just kind of figuring out where I wanted to go, which was really good, as I said. But yeah, I think because of how many schools that we went to visit and, looking online and doing all the research and talking to a bunch of coaches, I feel like we started that pretty early. So by sophomore year, I was like, this is so exhausting. It's awesome. It's awesome to see and talk to all these people, but like, I just want to know where I'm going and, stop spending so much time figuring that out. And so when I stepped on the campus at Marist, I pretty much knew I just wanted to keep my options open for a little bit longer. And then in the fall, I decided that I would commit and was very relieved when I did so.
And that way you can focus on the task at hand senior year. So
exactly.
No pressure.
I can't lose out on the 4th state championship.
I know, right? So I don't know how many people have actually done it. I know, like, I'm on the boys' side, there's been some 4 straights, and probably on the girls' side too. But to win 4 straight,
I know Lisa Blaze won 4, and I think maybe Cindy Blodgett.
And to do it at the Class A level, right? That's huge. That's the best of the best right there. So, was there pressure, or was it pretty much? I got this? I mean, you were a veteran at that point. You've been.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I felt some pressure, but I was never really nervous, and I don't know. I was just hungry and motivated the whole time, and I wanted, to keep proving myself and to keep doing what we had been and keep the streak going, and wanted to finish out the right way. So obviously just tried to emulate what we'd been doing, and it ended up working out nicely. It was a really great way to close out my senior year, and I think I would have been super bummed had it not happened, but was really thankful to have such great teammates, and I had a great coach. Billy Goodman ended up coming in my sophomore year and coached me my sophomore, junior, and senior year, and he was like an uncle to us. He was he wanted to shoot with us before and after practice. He wanted us to babysit his kids. We would go over for dinner all the time. Like, it was a really, really fun experience, and we all felt super close. And I think because of that connection we all felt to one another, it was even more special and important that we did it.
And then there were some other awards that came along with it. So back-to-back Gatorade Player of the Year, but also the title of Miss Maine. Who were the finalists for that year, 2014? You remember?
It was me, Tiana, Joe Carter, who ended up playing at Albany, and then Parise Rosignol, who went to UP.
I was going to say, was it Parise? That's my girl. We're both from up north. So you took away our Miss Basketball.
I know. And she's so great. They both are. They're both so nice. And, that whole weekend, like leading up to the Miss Maine stuff, was so much fun. The McDonald's All-Star stuff. So it was really good to see them and hang out with them a little bit. And then, spend some time with them. Parise actually was considering playing on the Firecrackers for a little bit in high school, but it just obviously was too far of a time commitment and didn't end up working out. But I knew both of them pretty well, so it was fun to spend some time with them and sort of see them before we all went on our separate journeys. And they both had a ton of success in high school and college, so it was really cool to be in a category with them as well.
Just a really stacked class in 2014.
Yeah, and then Olivia Smith also, I don't think she was in the top 3, but she was a finalist for Miss Maine, and she was on my Macaulay team and ended up playing at Dartmouth and had a good career there. So it was really cool, and it was definitely a class that knew one another and cared about one another. So it was cool to see other people doing well as well.
So you got to go play the next level. You got to go play D1. And it's kind of like starting all over again, right? You jump into a new program, new level. What was the biggest adjustment for you that you had to make going from Class A Maine high school basketball to D1 hoops?
Sort of just starting over and being the young, innocent one on the team who has so much to learn. We ran a motion offense, which was really effective, but took a while to learn. So coming in, it's not like, I can study my playbook and remember all these plays. I actually have to really understand the screen that's being set and the call that I'm going to make and, the cut that comes with it. So it was a lot. I was so thankful to be a part of a team, because I think going into college, not already having a, designated group of 10 or 12 friends would be really hard. And we were able to go over the summer before my freshman year. So when I came onto campus in the fall, I already knew the girls and felt comfortable with them. So that was a lot easier going into freshman year. But yeah, definitely tough being the youngest and feeling like, you know, you've so far to go and so much to learn. But just played with some awesome players, leadership wise and on the court. And they made me feel so comfortable. They pushed me. My coach certainly pushed me. I think he felt like I had potential, and he didn't usually play freshmen. So he pushed me extra hard, which sometimes was tough, but in the long run, it was good and helped me get better and improve myself at Marist. But it was pretty much a dream come true, being able to actually play out my goal of playing Division I college basketball. Great experience. I loved my team, loved my coaches, loved the school. Wish I didn't get injured, but
yeah, we'll get that in a second here. But had a great freshman year. Made all MAC. You guys call it the MAC, or is it the MAC?
Yeah, MAC. I know you would think it's like MAC, yeah. But it's not. It's just
all MAC rookie teams had some success. What's like maybe the one thing you weren't prepared for going and making that commitment? Because I mean, it sounds like you were driven just from all the work you put in and how hard you went in high school, but the time commitment playing D1 basketball, the study halls, the practices, the off-season workouts, like what's like one thing that you kind of like, I wasn't really expecting this level of commitment?
I think I wasn't prepared for how sore my body was going to get. I felt like I could play 6 AAU games a day and like never run out of energy. And I went to college and we'd have a game, and the next day I was so tired, so sore. It was like my body aged 10 years overnight. But I think it was just because of the volume of things we were doing. You know, our practices were 3 hours. We were lifting. You know, you have to spend time in the training room before and after practice, depending on, you know, your injuries or whatever's going on. So I think the time commitment and just the maintenance you really need to keep up with to keep yourself on the floor. You know, no one's doing it for you. You have to just make sure that you stay in tip-top shape and healthy, and you kind of have to grow up in that regard. Like, it's not always just eating whatever you want and doing whatever you want outside of practice, because basketball is the priority. So that was a shock. I felt like in high school and middle school, I would have never run out of energy. My body never was sore, kind of indestructible. And then in college, I was like, wow, my legs are on fire. So, and like taking ice baths and all these things that I just was so not used to. But it's a whole different level based on how much time you have to put into it and how much responsibility you have. So it makes sense, but it was just a big adjustment.
You mentioned the injury too. So it's probably the first time since ever that you had success playing, you play all day, then you get to the next level and you play well there, make all rookie team, have a good sophomore year, and then you get hurt. Mm-hmm. So what was it like dealing with that adversity for the first time in your life, really?
Yeah, it was really tough.
And what was the injury? Because I couldn't find the specific injury online.
Yes, I tore my ACL, my right one my junior year, and my left one my senior year. So it was really strange. My sister had torn hers twice at that point, and I just never felt like I would be the one that would get injured, let alone would it be a knee injury. So it was really tough at first sort of to swallow, you know, and you know when it happens, so it's hard to convince yourself that it's not that while you're waiting for the MRI results to come back. So that was really tough, definitely a challenge. And at the time I was a captain, so I was like, okay, I need to find a way to contribute to the team while also bettering myself outside of practice, because I obviously can't be a part of that and still make contributions for my team and be a good captain and, you know, be there for them. So it was really tough. You definitely have to take every day at one time. And, you know, you all you want to do is run and get back on the court. But when it's the first day out of surgery and you can't even lift your leg, you have to think about the small things. I wouldn't take it back. I would take the second one back just because it's not fun to do it once, let alone twice. But it did teach me a ton about myself and my team and how I can contribute. And really just every day was a challenge, you know, mentally, physically. So it was definitely hard. It was sort of like, I can't believe this happened to me. I never really thought I would be the one that would get injured, or, you know, I'm thinking about how junior year I'll finally make a significant impact, put the team on my back type thing. I'm a captain this year. Like, juniors really are supposed to step up even more than in the past. So it was a strange time, but like I said, I wouldn't take it back because of how much I learned and grew from it. And I think it was a good, challenge for me to overcome because like you said, I think that was the first time I really had to deal with adversity and, kind of take that reality check of like, okay, how can I better myself? How can I be a good teammate? How can I be a good captain and still contribute without being on the court and not being in practice and not being on the floor during games? Like there are still things you can do to be a good leader. You just have to kind of figure out the best way to do it.
And I think another part of that too, something you have to deal with, it's tough enough just worrying about the injury, coming back from that and the mental strain that comes with trying to battle through injury. But at the same time, you got players coming in behind you that are coming for your spot, right? So I'm guessing that's something else you have to battle too. Like I can't rush this. I need to get healthy and be right. But at the same time, like you must be itching to come back to keep the spot that you kind of carved out through your first couple of years there, right?
Absolutely. It's such a tough challenge. And I think that's why when I did it the second time, it was so devastating because I felt like, okay, after the first one, I finally got back on the court. I was ready to, work really hard, but also balance how much I was able to do because of my knee, but start proving myself back on the court again. And then after the second one, I pretty much knew that, I could come back from it, but it wasn't going to be like I was going to beat people out of their spots. And, at that point it was my 5th year. So I knew it was sort of time to be thinking about the next chapter, but I was super lucky at Marist. My teammates were awesome all 5 years. Like some of my very best friends, so happy for one another, just really good down to earth girls. So it was never like, I obviously wanted my spot, but I was so happy to see these other girls succeed and, work their butts off and play really well. So it's like an interesting mental battle because you obviously want to get back out there, but you're not sure if you're ready, but you want to see other people do well, but you want to prove yourself. So it's a battle for sure. And it's not enjoyable, but again, taught me a lot. So
one of the cool things about D1 hoops is you get to go play some pretty cool places. You get to go to tournaments, go up against some of the best players in the country. Looking back on your 5 years, because of the injury, are there any like moments or games or tournaments or anything that kind of sticks out as like, yeah, that's pretty cool. Like my career might not have gone exactly how I wanted it to do, but I still got to do some pretty cool things.
So one thing that really stands out is we played at Baylor my freshman year. Non-conference.
Brittany Griner? You play against Brittany?
She wasn't there, unfortunately. I wish. That would have been super cool. But I don't know if you know who Nina Davis is, but she was like a sophomore maybe at the time, and she was very good. And Kim Mulkey I was shooting well that game, and Kim Mulkey was running up and down the sidelines like, get the shooter, Nina, go get her. And my dad and I were like, Kim Mulkey's yelling at them to guard me. Like, what is going on? It was so cool.
Yeah.
It was such a surreal experience. I'm like, I'm just like this girl from Maine. I'm shooting well, but like, she's literally talking about me. That's so crazy. And then we played Louisville. We got to play in Florida. We went to Hawaii. We went to Atlanta, Georgia. We played against some really cool schools, USC, Purdue, Louisville, trying to think who else, but always such a good experience.
Yeah.
So cool playing against these like teams and schools that are big names, and you see them mostly just on TV because they're obviously not in our conference, but really cool to be able to compete with players like that. And I'll never forget her telling Nina Davis to like guard me closer. It was so cool.
Yeah, that's something you can take with you for the rest of your life. But
my dad loves to talk about it because I don't know, it's fun reminiscing on basketball days, and that's definitely a memory that stands out.
So you mentioned towards the end of your tenure at Marist, you had to kind of start looking ahead and look at the next chapter. So what is the next chapter for you? You mentioned you're not really thinking about coaching necessarily right now, or maybe even being involved with basketball. Maybe just trying to do other things. So what's the next chapter look like for Allie?
Yeah, that's a good question. Right now I'm working in venture capital, and I'm actually working for my old AAU coach. I played for another program in high school a little bit when we didn't have firecracker stuff. And I'm working for the coach of that team now. He's the CEO of the company I work for, which is really funny and small world. But I don't know. I really like finance. I think I'll probably stay within that industry. I'm really enjoying sort of figuring out how I can better myself in the workplace, because so much of, the sports mindset translates over into the workplace. You always want to do better and work harder and be the best you possibly can. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the future holds. I could totally tell you something different in a year. But right now I'm enjoying the path that I'm on, enjoying being in Boston, hope to end up back in Maine and work within finance.
Absolutely. So I want to hit on some random things before we get up out of here. I got some random questions before we close
Sure.
up the podcast. So as I mentioned at the top, we had your sister on, and one of the questions I asked her was she's still in it. But she was part of some great Greeley teams with some great players. And I asked her if her Greeley team went up against your Macaulay teams, who would win that matchup. I'm not going to say what she said, so people can go back and check out that episode. That's my little teaser. If you want to hear what she said, go check out that episode. But if I'm going to get you on this episode, who to win that game? Who to win that head-to-head matchup?
So, spoiler, I do know what she said, and I agree with her answer. My sister Sarah and I were so thrilled that she admitted that because we do think that we would beat them. Although Anna, Brooke, all those other girls are so good. We just had a little more depth, I think, in terms of our players. I think probably my junior year was, I would say, maybe our best team. And it's funny because right after that podcast came out talking about that, there was a Twitter poll about, the best team in the last decade. And it was my team my junior year, my team my freshman year, Camille's team, and I can't remember the other one, but my junior year team ended up winning, which was funny because it was like me and Sarah against Camille type thing. I mean, obviously they're great and Greeley's done great and it's been so fun to watch, but I think we agree on this one.
Okay. And then one of the other people you just mentioned, Anna DeWolf. So we had her on the podcast, and she mentioned being a water girl for your
She
Macaulay
sure
team.
was.
What do you remember about Anna the water girl? Was she good at it? Do you have any memories at all from her being on the bench?
She was great. She was so cute, very easygoing, always brought me my water on time. She and Camille were very funny, and it was just like I love kids. I love babysitting. I love having young kids around. So it was really fun to have them around, and let alone have my sister around. And they were really close friends at the time. And it was so funny. Camille would dress up as the lion, and Anna would have the water, and it was just really comical seeing where they are now that they kind of started there.
So you're a big sister. We know Camille, we know Sarah. So I want to know what kind of big sister when it comes to the basketball side of things are you? Are you the vocal one in the crowd? Are you the one just shouting, saying stuff? Are you like the more quiet one that'll talk to them after the game like, hey, saw this, saw that? Are you the supportive type? Like, what kind of big sister are you when it comes to the basketball stuff?
Ooh, kind of hard to say with Camille just because I haven't played with her as much. But when I see something, I try and bite my tongue and not say like, oh, you should try and think about doing this. But usually I end up saying it, and she acts like she is appreciative and taking it well, but I'm not sure that she is, or she just wants me to stop talking. But because I can understand how that would be really annoying. But obviously after playing for a long time, you just kind of see things in a different light. Sarah, she's so funny. She would never even know when practice was. She would just get in the car when I got in the car because she just there was no reason for her to know. So she pretty much would listen to what I said. But it was funny because we always kind of found each other on the court, which was just a really fun dynamic to have. And we kind of really respected the other one's comments and constructive criticism on the court since we played together for so long. So maybe that's why it doesn't come off as well when I say something to Camille, because we haven't ever really played together. So it's kind of different.
You ever feel the need to be like, listen, okay, I might have 2 ACL tears now, but if you would have to deal with me back in the day, I would show you a thing or two. You ever feel the need to say that, like, hey, listen.
I bite my tongue.
Go ask somebody about me.
Yeah. I bite my tongue. She says she can beat me in one-on-one, and she might be able to these days, but I don't think she could have back in the day. It would have been very interesting to see her now and me then and have a little battle. So I would say she can get me now. I am not very quick laterally and can't get to the basket very well, and she's a deadly shooter. So yeah, I mean, that would have been really cool to be able to play with or against her when we both were playing.
So you mentioned the best teams of the decade, and you had 3 of those teams in that poll. So I want to know your Macaulay Mount Rushmore. So you don't have to put yourself on there because I think it's safe to say you would be on there.
Okay.
But if you had to pick 4 girls to put on the Macaulay Mount Rushmore, who would you put?
Yep. Okay. I would put Becca Knight. These are just people I played with, right?
It can be all time or it could be girls you play with.
I'm going to do just girls I played with because it's going to be too much pressure.
All right.
Rebecca Knight, Alexa Coulomb, Victoria Lux, and Olivia Smith probably.
It's not bad.
But like I would love to add my sister and Molly Mack and Olivia Dalphons. Like I could go on forever.
There we go. Just a really long list. Just no short names to pick from right there.
Exactly.
And then my last question for you is, we mentioned your aunt. She's not coaching right now. She's not a Duke anymore. But let's say she goes to another program here shortly, and she's trying to build her coaching staff. And she's like, hey, Allie, you got great experience. Why don't you jump into the coaching game and come with me to this program? Is that something you would entertain? Would you join that coaching staff?
That is so interesting. I've never thought about that. I obviously dreamt of playing at Duke and playing for her, but it just wasn't realistic. But I've never thought about coaching with her. And that actually would be really cool. Especially at Duke. I love Duke. I'm not sure that she would go back to Duke, but I think that would be a really cool experience.
Absolutely. I'm going to try to get her on at some point in the future, and I'll ask her that question. Hey, look, would you consider any of your nieces on the coaching staff? Just
I know. That would be so interesting. I would love to say that, yes, I would do it. I don't know for sure that I would, but it sounds like a really cool thing.
It could be cool.
Yeah. We played at Duke my 5th year. It was like my senior game, and we played against her, and it was so cool.
Yeah, what's it like playing in Cameron? I've been to Cameron as a fan. I went in there and just kind of checked it out, and it's much smaller than you think it is, but it just seems like a really great environment.
It was really cool playing there. I'd always gone to basketball camp there growing up, so we'd played like sideways, not on the big court, but we played like there were 4 courts in there.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to be able to play there, and obviously I'd seen some really awesome players play, and I was like, I couldn't believe I was playing on the same court as them, let alone like I was in college, because I idolized Duke so much growing up. It just felt like I couldn't possibly be the same age as them.
Something else to put on the list of cool things you've got to do.
Yeah, that was really, really cool. Yeah, very thankful for that experience.
So before we get up out of here, I always give my guests a chance to say what they want to say. If you want to just clear any rumors up or break some news or anything at all, I'm going to give you the floor.
No rumors to clear, but just want to say thanks to my, I have had so many teammates throughout the year, and it's been terrific, and, wouldn't have had much success without them. And then also thanks to my family. It's been so fun to be a basketball family and, kind of grow up doing this together and having a common shared interest. So really thankful for them and pushing each other, and just for them always having my back.
Absolutely. The Clement family name. It's one that holds weight in the basketball community.
Glad to hear we still hold a little weight, because it
Absolutely.
feels like, gosh, I know Camille does, but I'm old.
Yeah, but hey, like I said, the resume it's impeccable. I was reading it off. I was like, wow, look at that. 16-0 career playoff record. Who can say that? Not too many people.
It was a lot of fun, I will say. I'm very thankful for the experiences. That's for sure. I'll never forget.
Well, thank you for coming through on Big Time. As I mentioned, this is big. This is big for us. It's always good to get the best of the best to come through and share your story. So I appreciate it. And I just want to let everyone know to go check out all of our previous episodes, including Little Sister Camille, to see who she said. Well, actually, I think you kind of gave it away. But go check out Camilla's episode.
Go watch it.
Yeah, it's still a good one. Go check that out. Go check out all of our previous episodes. Everywhere you can get podcasts, you can find it. And tune in next week for another Big Time episode of Big Time Hoops, the podcast. We will see you then. All right. Thank you, Allie. I really